And we should rise to pledge allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
We have five plans on the agenda. Could 120, 124 Bloomingdale Ave begin?
Good evening. My name is George Brosman. I'm an attorney that represents the applicant for the redevelopment of the properties at 120 and 124 Bloomingdale Avenue. We've been here before you a few other times. We're here this evening to seek your recommendation for a certificate of appropriateness for a plan that would preserve the historic structure at 120 Bloomingdale and return it to its historic use as a residence. It's now currently a non-conforming commercial use. The second part of our certificate of appropriateness is to demolish a non-contributing resource at 124 Bloomingdale. In its place, our current plan, there would be two single-family dwellings with front porches facing along Bloomingdale Avenue, consistent with the historic pattern of development along there, and the carriage homes, three now, would be in the rear. When we were here last on March 4th, you recommended denial of the certificates of appropriateness for some very specific reasons. After that, we withdrew the certificate of appropriateness request, and we refiled our plans to address the reasons for denial that you had come up with last time. And the new plan is here on the board, and it's, as I said, the existing historic resource here is preserved, returned to its historic use. Along Bloomingdale Avenue, we have two single-family dwellings with front porches, and the carriage homes are here to the rear. And I wanted to walk through how we addressed the reasons for denial. They were spelled out in a letter from Kevin Kujansky dated March 13th. The commission or the board felt that certain standards were not met. First was they wanted to maintain a single-family scale along Bloomingdale Avenue with street-facing homes. Well, we've clearly addressed that. Last time we had the carriage homes facing sideways. There were no single-family homes. So on this plan, we have the single-family homes, and their fronts are facing Bloomingdale Avenue. The letter goes on to say, furthermore, it was felt that another section was not met with preserving the overall relationship amongst buildings in each of the district's development pattern. Applicant's proposal was for two clusters of 2 and 3 connected home with inward-facing entrances. So again, on the last plan, the clusters were facing inward, not looking out toward Bloomingdale. On this plan, we clearly have the single-family dwellings facing Bloomingdale Avenue. There was also a concern that the entrances shown on the last plan were false fronts. The HARB referred them to, as you may recall, there were garages there. The garages are now shifted to the rear, and we have real front porches and front doors. Finally, there was concern that the plans didn't match the elevations. I believe the plans didn't show the porches, but the elevations had shown the porches. This is the official plan that we've now filed, and it does show the porches. We believe that this plan completely addresses all of the last reasons for the recommendation of denial and meets the standards. And as I noted, and here's the elevations. John Benson is here and Bo Erickson. they could go into these if there's any questions, but you can see the front porches and the front doors. And I also wanted to hand up for the record, we do have the historic data for the street, and 124 is labeled here as a non-contributing resource. That was brought to our attention back in September by Mr. Lacey, the chairman. So that's always been recognized as non-contributing into the district, and we have the official designation here, so I'll hand that up. Did you want to say anything, Dr.? Okay. So that's our presentation. We're prepared to answer any public comment that there would be and any questions from the board.
I have a question for you. Is this working? There was, with the 124 property, there was a concern that that was a builder that was recognized in the community. And there was questions as to whether or not that could be saved or had to be demolished. Did you take a look at that at all?
Well, I would say Mr. Benson may want to chime in. That's always been up for demolition. We're proposing the demolition of it. We were told all the way back in September it's non-contributing, and at no time have we ever heard that it should not or could not be demolished. In the recommendation for denial that we received last time, that was not even referenced. So as far as we're concerned, we have the right to take that down. It is non-contributing, and that's the discussion that we've always had. It just doesn't fit within our project, unfortunately. You may want to elaborate on that.
Good evening. If you folks have been down Bloomingdale Avenue, I guess you've seen this area. If you look at the project and you look at the structure that we're asking to take down, it does not fit into the streetscape at all. You drive down Bloomingdale, all the homes are set at the same setback with the same basic architecture. You get to 124, the house is set back over 100 feet off the street, where most of the other homes are all at 50 foot. It wasn't built at the same time period as the houses that we are looking to preserve, as well as the houses that you're preserving across the street. So from a streetscape perspective, it doesn't fit. What we're trying to do with the new homes, even though they're new homes, it fills in the gap between there. It tries to make the houses as equal distance as you drive down Bloomingdale, so we'll have a constant pattern of single family homes to come down. Even though the structures on either side of us are being used as multi-family homes, we will be the only single-family home on this section of Bloomingdale Avenue. Most of the applications that we see coming in front of the board are for apartments, condominiums, and that's what we have on both sides of us. And we didn't know if that was the purpose of the township, was to make this be apartment row, or to try to turn the township or try to turn this road back into a residential where people live here, own the products, own the houses, and have a vested interest in living here. And I know the project across the street, 125 Bloomingdale, I think was in front of you recently, and they didn't put, they changed to condominiums. So they did not go to apartments, but they went with a unit that will be owned and operated as a purpose and not rented out. And I think that's the type of scale. When we did the architecture, go with one more, we're missing one.
Yeah, I'll just chime in. I like this design a whole lot more than your last one. So absolutely, I love that you're moving in this direction. I know that did come up, so I just wanted to see if you did any research on that.
It really, if that structure were to be forced to stay, nothing can be built on the project as far as we're concerned. Okay. So we went into this project knowing it wasn't on your list. We've invested a tremendous amount of time and money into this project, with that information that we used as a starting point, and we should be able to rely on the information that the township gave us as a starting point to design the project. And that's almost where we are. We wanted to go the singles, and somewhere along the line we were told to go another direction and go to carriage homes and put some in the back, some in the front, but we, 8 months later, we're back to where we should have been and back with the single-family home. So we believe that, we agree with you that this is where we hope the plan should be, and it's probably the best use for the property if it's going to be single-family homes and not be apartments. The project does allow for up to 10 units to be built on the project, on the properties. We could have the ability to ask for the 5 carriage homes as well as ask to convert the single-family home to 3 apartments. We're not asking for that. We're asking to make the commercial building that's there, to turn it back to a single-family home and restrict the use only to a single-family home and not allow the ability to that property to be converted to apartments, like all the other properties on that street. And we're hoping that that will start to set a trend for other people and turn the street into a livable residential area. That's our thoughts behind the design.
So I just had one other thought, which was, I know I personally and a few others had a problem with the scale of the design.
Yep.
And although I think it's better, I still, if you would move that one in the middle, I still feel that these are a bit out of scale compared to what's in the neighborhood. Just as so far as the top of these homes seem to be very large.
Well, if you look
Like
at the
the top
roofs,
floor.
if you look at the picture right here, they both have a mansard roof and then they have a peak over top of it. So the architecture is exactly matching the mansard roof. One issue that we have to have the top floor to be a livable level. We have to be able, those houses don't have two-car garages on them. So the existing houses don't, but to meet the township's requirements on parking, and instead of building detached garages and getting into that, the structures have to have the ability to have a garage. These have two-car garages, as no other house on the block or architecture wasn't built back then to incorporate that type of design. So you have to give us a little flexibility to make the scale a little bit. It's really just a little bit more using the third floor as a full height. If you look at the distance between the dormers from the top and the bottom, we have just a little bit more room. Our roof kind of peaks, but it's really just the picture, because as the mansard goes up, it's like back on a 45 degree that shows the other roof. If you look at the picture right here, you can kind of see it a little bit. See how it peaks up on the top? Ours is very similar to that. Just a straight-on shot over illustrates it as opposed to a
Yeah, I think my
perspective.
problem is more with the width. It looks like the first floor is a little.
These units, I believe they
get
are.
wider as they go
I know,
upward.
but
I mean, I'm sure it's more
I
of an
believe that we
illusion, but-
are. I don't believe that the units that are up there, the two on either side, but these are 40-foot wide homes. They are not, I mean, that's as narrow as you can get for a single-family home. Some of them are 40 feet at their widest. Some of them, they're at 35 feet. I don't know of a home that's less than a single-family home that's narrower than 40 feet. Anywhere, I believe those homes, if we were to tape measure both this home and that home, they're close. You got 1, 2, 3. You have five windows across the front. Each of those windows are over 3 feet, a little over 3.5 feet per window, plus shutters. Our scale's very, very close.
Can I just see the kind of bottom picture that you have there, just to kind of get an idea of the scale of it, and then I'll let you guys talk.
Take them up. She wants to see. No, you want to. Put that down. We don't need that. We don't need that.
I was going to make a comment/question that it appears I also like much better, feel more appropriate that the design and configuration singles front keeps the street wall with the distance from the setback distance, in a nice way. And I'm noticing, but you might want to comment, they're not 5 duplicate homes. They're looking a little.
They're all different,
Right,
yes.
which is a nice.
And that's
Good.
why, I guess the main difference, if you look, most of the homes in the area have this one-story porch, but since every one of them had that, to just copy the same one-story porch on the other one, we couldn't really get a look that would look different. That's where we went with the railings. A lot of the homes, though, do have the stucco, and to get that look, we've agreed to put it on a little bit part, but with the codes in today, we can't take the liability to build total stucco homes anymore. It's just too much liability
Okay.
for with the litigation that's been going on the last 10 years. So we're trying to use other materials other than stucco that really can't be used because the problems with the long-term effects of it on the home. So we have the cement board siding on the one side, and to accent it from the front, from the porches with the brick fronts on it, to give a little contrasting
No,
detail.
it's nice. And then I noticed the dormers are all a little different
Yes.
styles, which
Well, and that, if you
helps.
look at the neighborhood, some of the houses in the neighborhood do have the arch dormers.
Yes.
And some of them do have the colonial style.
Yes.
So we thought by representing both different types, we were pulling from, have him around there.
it's a good touch.
And we were also told, and I mean, the front doors, they are facing out to the house. The one elevation that we do have here, so we're all talking the same thing, we still show a garage here. It's only for the perspective because we are on our third round of architecture, and to just try to make sure we were all on the same page with the Hart Board and the Township. We recently agreed to put them around the rear, so you wouldn't be. We would agree that any final approval would be subject to the final blueprints being reviewed by the Township that showed the garage door on the rear of the building. Because really, we don't really have a rear. If you look at these homes, we're basically building a home that has 4 fronts to the building. So the building is almost sitting out so it can be viewed from all the angles. So it's not easy to build a home that does have basically 4 front elevations, but I think if you look at ours, we've done probably as good as a job you can on a 40 by 40 box. I mean, we're not working with a building that has a lot of movement to it, so on a 40 by 40 plane, you have a lot of variations on 3 different angles, so it doesn't look like a repeating pattern to make it work.
It's on the corner, so.
Yep.
you're- Any other comments here? Do we
Wait.
want anyone else?
Yeah, public comment?
Public
Yeah, sure.
comments?
Everyone, Greg Pritchard from Wayne, and that 124 house is something that's been brought up a lot, and I think it's unfortunate that the house was apparently listed as non-contributing. As we've noted before, it doesn't match the houses on the block in terms of timeline. It's probably about 30 to 40 years after that. But after that initial development, but it is contributing, and I'm not sure why it was listed as non-contributing originally. It's the exact same design, in fact, as other houses within the district that are listed as contributing. So it's unfortunate, and I'm sorry that it got to this level of this stage of the process with that in mind. But I don't know how you might make a decision about recommending a demolition or not recommending a demolition of a building that's over 100 years old in a historic district. To my knowledge, this board has never recommended a demolition like that of a building of that age. But I think this this should prompt a re-examination of the inventory of buildings within these districts, and also making public the list of those buildings and whatever's known about them, so that the public knows and can correct things if there are mistakes, and so that everybody's on the same page there. So that and also perhaps design guidelines for the districts, because there's some debate about the appropriateness of the architecture and whether having matching buildings, and it's there's a lot I could say about the designs, but what's appropriate? If something similar to what's already there is what's most appropriate, or things that are sufficiently different so that nobody can mistake the old from the new. That's just this process. I'm not sure how much farther along we can go with this process, but for the future, that's making these things clear is really important, I think.
I think those are very good points for our moving forward.
I wish the pictures were here, but they're not. The scale of these buildings in this district have a sense of tapering toward the sky. They have a solid base, and then the mansard roof, which is really a mansard roof, that lovely slope in it, tapers up. This has just the opposite effect, whereas the weight is on the top and the building, it looks like it's kind of top-heavy. We don't have anywhere that I can think of in the township, except maybe the Spanish apartment buildings, where we have a balcony like that on a building. I don't think we have any that have the slatted, railing.
Balustrade.
Or whatever. Balustrade, thank you. I think that one of the things that would be in guidelines, if we had them, would be a certain things about massing and rhythm. And the thing that's jarring in some way about this is that in the other buildings that make up this neighborhood, and it is a subsection of the historic district, I think, the windows are long and they're frequent. They're relatively, there's several, I can't remember now, but there are 4 or 5 iterations of the same window across the front of it. But because then they needed natural light to I'm sorry, geez, I have to move, to see. Okay, I'm sorry, I keep hitting it with my hand, I'm apologizing.
Put it right here.
How about I stand, if I stand here, is that better? Then I can wave my hand over here, right? Anyway, so these things are what is jarring about this. And if they're talking about the building that exists now being non-contributing, which, as we know, was a mistake, or not a mistake, but a different way of looking at things many years ago when we started this process. But they're essentially replicating the Dutch colonial look of the non-contributing building rather than trying to make it more, I mean, that building's always stuck out like a sore thumb there, that making it something that is more part of the rhythm of the neighborhood. So I don't know whether you can do anything about that, but I would really love to see them put more effort into, this design is not that much different. I know you see that it's better, but it's not that much different than the last one we saw, at least the one I saw at the Board of Commissioners meeting. And I was really hoping that they would stand there, look at it, absorb it, and see the difference that needs to be made to have it be part of this beautiful street that's the original street of Wayne. Thank you.
Hi, Baron Gemmer. My wife and I own the property that was displayed to the left up there a little bit ago. And I would like to comment on the massing also, both the width of the building, which was commented on before, and the massing. The width of our building actually is 34 feet. So to say that they can't be less than 40 is, that would actually make a very large single-family home. It's actually a 2-family at the moment. To illustrate that point, not only in terms of the massing with the width and the height, another factor that comes in the height is the relative grade difference in terms of, if you look at the plan, which I know you're not, but in terms of, you look at, and I'm trying to be conservative here. Let me demonstrate here. So just from a pure block mass perspective, this is our house here, which is 34 feet wide and approximately 32 feet tall at that particular elevation. This is the distance indicated on the plan, which is 50 feet between the buildings. I'm being conservative. Based upon the elevations I could see, it's going to be at least a 5-foot difference, which is why I have that little dirt indicated there. And then this is 40, 41, depending on how you look at the plan, by approximately 38 feet tall, which is 50% more area if you're looking at it. But besides the fact that it's much higher, I think it has a little more jarring look when you're looking at the massing that way because of the increased elevation as well as the increased height combined between the two. Actually, and I'll leave a copy with you folks if you want one.
I think the massing point is a good one. Just to let everyone know for the record, I guess, it's section 178-7C3. Keeping with the pattern of the street-facing homes of varying scales, but also same section F1, preserving the overall relationship between the width of the front of the building and the height of the front of the building. And what you're talking about with this massing issue is, as you said, the homes that are currently built in this area do kind of taper in feel and in mass, and these kind of do the opposite. But just to put numbers to what you were talking about, those are the sections we're talking about.
If I could respond, we were here back in September. We had, and I don't know if we were here again after that, but we had the single-family dwellings. We got a lot of feedback from the board at that time. They were pretty similar to what we have. The feedback that we got was differentiate them from one another, which we've done. So we feel that we've addressed the comments that we got. I don't believe these design guidelines should be interpreted to tell a developer exactly how to, design the buildings. We did follow your feedback, and we've responded where we could. And we've been very responsive, including our last change to our plan, which was essentially a complete redesign. We went back to the singles that you wanted. And, so we believe that we have addressed the comments, and we want to get your recommendation of approval. Go ahead, John.
One more comment regarding the massing that it comes up. If you take a look at a lot of the pictures around here, I don't believe, you can take a look at the sides and the massing going down the fronts of all these buildings. We have a building right next door to us. This building right here. If you look at this, of the sides of that building, the lengths and the massing of that building that is right next to us, and tell me that the massing of that building is any bigger than the massing of the single-family homes that we have, they're not. Those footprints, this footprint's much bigger than ours. This footprint, or the longhouse, the footprint on, where is it, Bo? 108 has a longer footprint than we have at 40 by 40. We have across the street over here, we have apartments that are townhouses, but / apartments. The building is at least probably 200 feet long on both sides, running as an L. We have 3 different townhouse properties around us that have been developed in the last 2 years. You folks about a year and a half ago approved Jardin on the other corner. I'm not sure what architecture that matches into the area, because I can't find that architecture that was approved in the South Wayne district compared to what I'm trying to do with our architecture. We're spending a tremendous amount of money on our architecture to make our architecture blend in, and if they're on the opposite corner, I'm not sure how they were allowed to be built in a South Wayne district with no type of representation to any of the homes that we have in the area. And our homes are looked upon as being different than the area. So I do think that if the house next door, if it's 35 feet, I said our homes go anywhere from 35 feet, at the widest they're 40 feet. But you have to take into account the homes that they're talking about do not have garages on them. And the township requires parking. Parking requires garages. Not everybody wants them out on the streets. Nobody wants to fill up the Bloomingdale Avenue and have it, so we are required to put them in our houses. So we have to be given a little latitude to make the houses a little bit bigger to hold today's 2-car garages, to get them off of the street, because everybody wouldn't want to have, all the cars blocking the houses as well. So we thought, to give us that type of leeway on a little bit to do, I think is, the most we could ask for. Regarding the height of the buildings, I'm not sure where the extra 5 feet, we could take a look at that during land development. If there's a way to take the site down anywhere we can, we'll work with the Planning Commission and them. We don't want to keep the houses up any higher. So if that's the way they will be on the Planning Commission, we'll want to get them down as flat as possible. We want the streetscape to come right down Bloomingdale and look flat, not to go up on an arc. So if there's anything we can do, we will. And the height of the building is just fitting into the zoning code that we're building to. We're not asking for any height bonuses on what we're building to. And we're not asking for anything different than this townhouse community was approved. The townhouse community that here was approved. The project further down Bloomingdale Avenue, that was the 3 houses that were approved, and the heights that are allowed on those buildings. We're not asking for anything more than what was approved in the area. So I think we try to balance what everybody wants and what can also be sold and what needs to be built to make projects like this happen. So the house has sat there vacant for a while. It has had a for sale sign. It gets more deteriorated every year as it goes. And we're trying to take the gallery that is used as a residential unit and turn it into a residential unit. So with the couple of the pluses that we are giving you, we're hoping that the couple of the pluses outweigh a couple of the issues that we need to do to make the project work. Thank you.
Can I just mention one thing? I'm hearing all these pieces. The roof lines I believe you have are gambrel, or at least appearing gambrel versus mansard, and it's the slope. I think it's almost a perceptual. It could be, you could be losing 6 inches perhaps. But I think it's the perception of going smaller.
We're agreeable to work on it. We'll take them back to our architect and soften up the roof lines. And anything we can do to soften them up, we will do. And then we can bring back a roof line and see if we can tone down the massing on the roof line to give that to you. But we believe we were trying to address all the other matters that were given to us the last time we came. And if there is something that needs to be, or a condition upon adjusting the roof lines, we're agreeable to that. We want it to work for everybody.
Yeah, I just want to throw out there, I don't think it has to do with the actual mass or the height. I don't think any of that is what we're worried about. I think it's just this perception thing. And I think it's all in the design. As far as, I think the land that you have, or the design as far as where things are going and how it's going to be laid out is fine. I'm fine with it. I don't know what you guys think, but I'm fine with it. My concern is just when you look at all of these other houses in the area, I don't know how else to describe it except that it gets smaller mass as the property goes up, and it's all just
perception.
It's just designed from like a perception point of view. So I don't think we're asking to make anything smaller or change the dimensions necessarily. It's something
You're asking
about
to put a pitch up on the side,
different pitch.
so the top floor of the
Maybe.
pitches in and doesn't go straight. And I mean, I'm sure we can.
I'm not a designer. I don't know.
I'm not
I
an
feel like there's probably
I'm not an
other ways to do
architect
it.
either, but I know we have erasers on pencils, so I'm sure there's a way that we can make someone happy by making that minor change
I
and
guess-
making everybody happy.
I guess, Ray, could I ask you, is this a contingent upon situation potentially, or is a table situation?
You could ask them to make a consideration to make the roof lines pitch in. It's going to be a perceptual thing and going to be what they can do to make the homes usable and also to meet code and some of the other issues. Your perception of being pitched in is different from mine. It's different from Mr. Gemmer's. So to make everybody happy, it's never going to be. But you can ask them to look into trying to keep that moving back, or pitched back as much as they can to keep within.
And do we then see it,
No, you're going to approve it or not approve it.
or table, I guess, if we need
Well,
to? But
it's.
there's no contingency is what you're saying.
And
No,
we're agreeable to that kind of condition, but we would like a recommendation with that kind of condition that Mr. Benson talked about and that Ray is talking about, that would be acceptable to us.
so it's contingent upon the softening stuff.
Yes.
I don't know how I feel. I mean, I guess what we're trying to, because we have done contingency upon issues before, but I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, since you're right, one person could say softening means one thing and one person says another, and I think we're feeling uncomfortable. We love that we're all working towards the same place. I'm a little concerned that without having the ability to review it again, it might not.
We would be willing to, we've been here so many times,
No.
and we appreciate your input, so we want to get the recommendation. We would be willing to accept if you worded it such that, it would be recommended for approval, subject to softening that and, having us come back to show you what
Okay.
we've done.
Is that a reapproval? Is that a,
I wouldn't view it as a reapproval, but we would come back and
And-
show it to you
and
and
if
get your input.
and if it,
I don't know that we can do that. It kind of has to be approved, and the agreement would be to soften the roof line. If you're truly upset or you're truly not happy with that, then you're going to have to deny it and have them do that. But it's tough to say, again, what Mr. Benson works out with his architect may not, well, it's definitely not going to suit everybody in this audience. So
No, I
we
know.
can have this discussion for the next
No, and
8 meetings.
I know we can't always please everyone with everything. I get that, I really do, and I know you've been here a lot, and I understand there's some projects are here a lot and some are not, but I shouldn't speak for myself, not everyone, to say that I think we're all getting towards the right place, but it's too hard for myself to believe that we are all on the same page when we say the same words.
Right.
And I don't think that's going to help anybody, to be honest. And so
So if we could, it sounds like you want us to come back. If we could basically have an understanding that you're okay with everything else and we're coming back for that
for
point.
that one issue, I mean, I could feel,
We're okay with that.
I feel comfortable with that too. So that, I don't know how we word that as far as, can we just say we table for those issues to come back? Is that what we're kind of saying? I know, you don't like this, I know. Okay, okay.
Yes, we can do that,
Then,
for that single issue.
okay. So, should we say it officially? Is there a legal way to say that? I don't even know. I guess we are recommending to table, we saw the change in the plans, we liked the fact you heard the advice from last time and took it and changed the overall pattern and other details. For street facing is one of them, and the issue of roof direction, contour, softening, and height would be something we would love to look back and continue with. That makes sense?
I agree. I think we're very close, though, so.
Thank you.
Our next plan is 211 Orchard Way.
Hi, my name's Martha Wheaton Robertson. I'm representing the Carneys. They currently have a modified carriage house that was built is modified in the 70s, and it has a lot of defects in it, especially on the second floor, where the ceiling is extremely low. The plumbing's bad. They need to replace bathrooms and upgrade the kitchen. They have no parking at all. And that's this structure right here. It was a classic bank barn, built at the turn of the century, with a stone supporting wall, and then entry at grade at the rear. There's very few remaining elements of the existing structure here, because when it was renovated in the 60s, 70s, they pretty much got rid of everything, except there's a lovely carriage house door. It was a lower storage area for maybe some extra barn equipment or something. But all the original windows in the structure are gone, save two. Where's the picture? Yes. On this picture, there's a shadow of where there were windows for the horses' stalls. That's the only thing left now. And some of course, the shake siding, and then this diamond detail here, the band. Everything else has been, modified. In the original modification, I don't know how much of the original vernacular they tried to maintain. It looks like this dormer might have been original and they retained that, but the front was totally changed with these little shed things popping out and hit or miss. So the manor house for this, which is not visible at all, is this house, I believe. And it's not visible from this house. The house that's visible from this view is this structure, which is a different era, a little more colonial, Georgian style, whereas this is more turn of the century. I don't know what style you call this. It's not really arts and crafts.
It has that nature, even though I know.
Yeah, right, because of the huge overhang, right?
Yes.
So the challenge was to come up with an architectural style that fit into the neighborhood, that didn't stick out like a sore thumb, and maintain as much of the character of the original carriage house as we could maintain, plus giving them storage for the cars and a decent front entry, because right now there's no front door. You come in through the side, up this winding stair, in the snow and the sleet and the rain, this is actually a back door into the living space. So it was missing a front entrance, front stairs, missing a garage, missing a lot of things. Okay, okay, I want to.
Did you want to even overall mention, I have the plans here, some of the design elements that you're choosing or chose, or?
Okay.
Just quickly, show the plans, that would be good.
So in my proposed design, I wanted to, of course, the chimney will be hidden, but we are incorporating some of the shed roof coming off of the main pitch of this original roof on the structure. The actual floor joists in this thing are full 3 inches thick and 11 1/8. They're huge. And so we are keeping the existing flooring, a second floor deck, and we're just building up the minimum amount we need to give them some extra bedrooms where the kids are, you're not hitting your head on the ceiling, and give them bathrooms and a master suite upstairs. We are, the shake siding, we're replicating with as much as possible with the hardy board.
But appearance.
Cement, right. In my new design, I'm trying to resurrect the appearance and location of the horse
Okay.
stall doors. I'm trying to also incorporate some of the dormer aspect on the front of the house and repeating these doors. We're going to have them, the new garage doors are going to be very similar to this. And we may even be able to duplicate some of the hardware or get close to that design. We're going to be using some 2-inch stone veneer that replicates the existing stone. And in certain key locations, we're going to be using, you can't see this from the elevation, but tucked underneath this eave in here are the rafter tails. So in some of the roof lines, we'll incorporate those rafter tails.
Good.
Okay? So that's.
I think you gave some really good details that I think were giving us the flavor, if that's correct. And I feel, what I'm feeling, which I like, is that you're choosing features and details existing on the site already and trying to retain the barn.
Right, yeah. So here's the original barn doors, and here are the new ones.
Right.
And we're also incorporating a porch for several purposes, but it's has the flavor of the neighborhood and the houses. And then that diamond band we are adding here and here as an element to, again, replicate what was on the side of the house. I'm using a 3 separate window theme, which is a theme you see in the neighborhood. I don't want too many of the same windows. I have a variety of window styles. Again, glass open on the bottom with grids only on the top in most of the major windows. This is the new staircase meandering up from a stone pillar. The railing, we're going to choose a railing style typical for the area. The front porch is a typical overhang on big decorative brackets, which is something you'd see in the area, and a big, large slab-looking front door with transom. Again, a historic-looking door. We have a dormer at the top, a small shed dormer, and this is we added, see, this is the original, we kept the original part of the roof here, and this is the part we raised up, and then this is new construction here. This is all part of the new second floor.
Got it.
Okay, this is new first floor, and then this is porch covering the double bay garage.
Right.
Okay. Now,
I have a question, and this might be to you guys as well. The only thing I'm not sure about is the porch columns. Do they match this style of house, or are they a little more? I don't know.
The ones, the tapering? I mean, What do you, it feels right to me.
In the manor house, they're round tapered columns. So the manor house porch has round tapered columns all the way around it,
I think it would be,
okay? And there's another one there.
so that's a good question.
And this is I don't know if you can see, here we go. Put on this room. There we go. There. This is the side elevation where these are the existing rafter tails.
Right,
And we're replicating that on this gable and on this gable,
good,
okay?
Good
And
detail.
again, we have the shakes
the diamond.
all throughout. Now, we're mixing shake siding with clapboard siding, which is something you'd see in this era house. And this is the side elevation, which faces Luella, the backside of the neighbor of the next house. And here are the 3 stall windows. This is a taller window. We need egress windows in some of these bedrooms, so we have to make some. We can't do everything on a small scale. I wanted to keep the roof line as low as possible in the main roof. This is the side roof, but you don't really see that from the street. So this main roof doesn't kick up that much higher than what's there now.
I think I've heard plenty to give me the good sense of what you're doing, which
Okay.
I appreciate. And I guess public comment is unless you guys have more comments. Any public comment for this plan? Perhaps not. I guess we could make a motion. I could make a motion to recommend approval of a certificate of appropriateness. And
Second.
in
Thank you.
favor?
In favor.
So,
Thank you.
it's a recommendation, so it goes forward, and that's what,
Thank you. Oh, thank you. It's an exciting project.
the next project is 298 South Aberdeen Ave.
Excellent. Terrific. Good evening. My name is Michelle Thacker. I'm a principal at Archer and Buchanan Architecture, and I'm here on behalf of Jim and Carol Beers, who Jim is here this evening with me. So let me walk you through the project a little bit. We are looking for approval on a garage addition and little renovation to sunroom on the property. So if you look, this is the second page. I just skipped past the cover sheet. You can see the surrounding properties. So we'll start at the top is the house itself, which is Sunny High at 298 South Aberdeen. And next to it is the carriage house that's at the back of the property. So that's located here behind the main residence. C is next door on South Aberdeen, is at the back of the property, another Tudor residence similar to what we have. And then the surrounding properties to the east and the north are a little more colonial in flavor. And then just to the rear, much more modern house that sits behind our residence. Oops, sorry about that. So this is our site plan, where you can see this is the existing residence, and to about here there's a small garage currently that's really not in scale or in character with the main house currently. So we are proposing a new connector and 3-car garage because the grade level changes quite a bit. So we have several steps up from the garage to the house that are in that connector. So you can see existing conditions here. This is a view back towards the house of the garage, and we kind of get in closer and closer with these images, and you can see how it's very small compared to the scale of the main house, which was the original house that overlooked all of that area. So it has quite a commanding presence. And this later addition is really, as I mentioned, not in keeping with what's there and doesn't serve the clients well.
Do we know when that was?
I do not know the exact date, but
I couldn't find it.
doesn't matter.
I don't know.
So then when you look at some of the other details to the right of the existing home, these are the things that we are doing with the addition. The half timbering in the gable, all of the rake and all of the pieces will be mimicked in our addition. The stucco, the pebble dash stucco, the stone, we're repeating all of that. We always expect our contractors to build sample walls so that they match entirely stone and mortar joining and color everything. It's very important to us that someone comes to this house in the future and says, wow, this house was built in 1902, right? Well, yeah, everything but the garage. So we're very pleased when we can fool people into believing that it's always been there. So next page. A little fuzzy.
I'm going to have to ask you to take that page off.
Oh.
No interiors, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, next two, you will have to, I guess, look at on your own? Okay. So the last page is our exterior elevations, and this is the facade that faces Aberdeen Road currently, and this is our proposed garage addition, which is much more in scale with the house. As I mentioned, we'll be using the same half timbering, stuccoing, stone. The rear facade is actually intended to mimic, well, the rear, but it actually faces the street, to mimic the front where the garage doors are that express the piers of stone, but in the back are filled in then with the half timbering and the stucco. And you can see on this end, the gable end intends to have the same features that we have in the rest of the house with the gable. And we're actually using timber frame structure so that we can express all of those exposed rafters will be just as they were with the main house, that they continue through and are essentially built the same way they had been years and years ago, and they'll be detailed the same way with the same rafter tail ends and all of that. And then there's an existing sunroom where we're placing some windows because they don't actually, it was a porch at one point. They just stuck windows in. We're now putting in new windows that express the curve of the beams that are actually there right now.
Is that little hyphen piece? Is that little
Right here.
hyphen piece? Yeah, that little small piece. Okay.
Yes. So, do you have any questions?
I just had one.
Sure.
And this is a curiosity question because the existing garage obviously was not part of the original house. Do
Right.
you know when it was put on?
I do not, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, that's not the issue at hand.
Okay.
But it's quite obviously not something that we're going to fall on the sword to save.
I hope so.
I have two questions.
Sure.
One is Is the roofing material matching?
We're actually replacing the roof. It is an asphalt shingle right now on the entire roof, and we are putting a cedar shingle on it. Looking at from the interior, it was not a slate roof originally, so we're not, we feel that going with the cedar is still an appropriate and a good upgrade for the entire residence.
And the residence itself is slate?
That's what I mean. No, the residence itself right now is asphalt. We're replacing it,
okay.
and the garage will match. All
So you're
cedar.
replacing it all to match?
Correct.
That was kind of where I was going.
Sorry.
My other question was the dormer that
Yes.
you have on the garage. Is that on the house anywhere as well? Or
There
is that
are-
a new design feature?
There are, if you look down here, there are dormers along this facade, and then, oh my goodness, it's not on my drawing. Hold on a second. We do have a shed dormer. Here we go. I apologize. I don't know why it wasn't on that drawing. But if you look right here,
Oh, it is on there.
which is on the facade that faces Aberdeen Road.
The shed style
Yes.
dormer.
Exactly.
Multiple windows, that's
Yep.
often.
So it'll bring great light into the garage so that it can be used without opening doors.
So it'll basically look the same as the dormer that's on the house right now?
That's right.
Good point. Any other thoughts? And does any other people in the audience, public, want to respond? So we should consider making a motion to recommend a certificate of appropriateness for this project. And all in favor?
I'm in favor.
So you know the next steps are now with the commissioners voting.
Terrific. Thank you so much, ladies. I
Thank you
appreciate
for all your
time.
information. The next project is 411 Luella Ave.
Hi again. This, again, is a carriage house that was not quite a bank barn. And in the 60s, this was early 70s, it was renovated, and it has one of those weird stairs, open stairs, iron and wood stair, and wood paneling everywhere, and weird bathrooms that don't work anymore, and bedrooms. It's a hodgepodge, and it has even a garage that is kind of built into a hill that is you can't even fit an SUV in there because the garage doors are so low. So again, our goal was to make a more habitable space with usable bedrooms and living space and a decent garage for storing vehicles and equipment. And we have the existing, this is the front view from the street. And this grade only goes down so far. And if you were to try to put a garage underneath here, you would actually have to excavate down way below existing grade, and you'd have a nightmare in terms of water and drainage. So this is a very narrow lot. The only expansion we could really do is forward, up and forward. He's got, we're right up against the non-conforming building restriction line on both sides. And So we have a Tudor structure that has a few elements left in it here in this elevation and on these elevations, where you can see the Tudor boards, you can see rafter tails. It's stucco, old-fashioned stucco and Tudor. These are all replacement windows. They were all done when the renovation was done, so they're casements. They have no historic value at all. The only thing historic, these windows, apparently there were windows there for horse stalls. So when they did the renovation, we believe they are original. We're not sure yet because we're not done demolition on that wall. Then in the front elevation, there is a haymow door with actually a lift coming out and some rafter tails, actually they're brackets, they're dental brackets supporting this structure. Then this was all redone. So we don't know what was here. Now, again, this house is right next to the previous house we presented, the carriage house on Orchard, because it backs up to that Orchard house. And again, we have the same situation that we have adjoining houses in the neighborhood that don't relate to this, except they have where's my plan? Next door to them is the Tague residence. And there are a lot of elements. They did an addition, which is shown here. And you can see that faces the side of this existing carriage house. And they're pretty close to that neighbor. And all the elements in this house are traditional. And, in their addition, they maintained a lot of those elements. So this is probably the closest neighbor and point of reference when it comes to vernacular and style. So in the proposed, what we're proposing is that in focus? It's not quite in focus. Oh, no. Still not.
It is at home.
Okay, so in the addition, or what we're doing is basically taking the first floor, and the only part that is remaining is the existing roof, which we're maintaining. We're maintaining that gable end and the opposite gable end. We're maintaining this shed dormer that's currently on the back, upgrading the windows things like that. We are going to replicate. We have to, of course, replace the wall material because it's leaking. We're going to replicate the look of the Tudor and the stucco. We'll probably not use stucco. We'll probably use the hardy board stucco board, which is much better than real stucco. And we're going to be using typical battens, 5.5-inch, 6-inch battens, to replicate what's there, repair and replicate what's there. Now, the windows that were the horse stall windows, this is a southern exposure. So this exposure of the house gets the most amount of light. Well, those little horse stall windows are pretty small. So I took the liberty of making them slightly taller, but keeping the grids only in the top. Then the windows, you'll see all my windows, I'm trying to pull the vernacular of the adjacent house, the Tague residence, into this, as well as the house to the other side, and getting rid of those casement things that are there now. So, so this is the original structure. Now the addition is here, and then moving out towards the street for the garage. We're doing carriage house garage doors. Again, getting some small windows in an attic space, storage space for the garage. I'm using the shake siding that probably would have been on this structure somewhere. We're not quite sure. We think this shake here, the shakes that are here that appear in the picture, we think they might be original. We're not sure. Then, so that's what you see from the side. From the street, you see, you're coming up, you go sideways into the garage. But the first thing you see is a dormer that comes out from the roof system with the barn door, the haymow door, and the lift. We are using stone to match the existing stone that's back here as a water table around the structure. There will be a front porch that's an entry, their main entry, because again, we've got grade, quite a difference between the driveway grade and the front, first floor grade. And we didn't want very big obtrusive stairs. We wanted to just kind of downplay the stairs going up to the front porch. We have windows again that are consistent with the neighbors' windows. We have a roof system here. A lot of these roofs are consistent with roofs in the neighborhood. Now, the pitch of these roofs is lower. We don't want to kick this structure up so high with, 12 pitch roofs that all of a sudden this starts dominating the neighborhood. And we're kind of minimizing the impact of the garage by keeping that roof structure pretty low. And we're burning the garage into the hill partially.
Okay.
Because this is the high grade and then it goes down. So we're trying to minimize the disturbance of soil and keep this structure low, so your emphasis is on the rear, the main house.
One question, I'm trying to read this as you're explaining it. The original front entrance, was that towards the right-hand portion of where you're pointing?
The original front entrance
Yes.
is not.
It's not the original anymore, is
No.
what you're saying? Okay.
In other words, there's nothing
Okay.
of this place. The only thing there is in the rear. Here's the side elevation that faces the neighbor, and here's our addition, and there's the remaining part of the gable roof.
Right.
Because this comes out. Again, shakes, and
Okay.
on the bottom with Tudor
Okay.
on the top, okay? And a stone chimney. Now, the rear elevation. I'm not doing much to the rear elevation. Is this barn door. That's the only thing
Okay.
that's original in this whole
Okay, that makes now some sense.
structure.
Okay.
That's it.
So you're retaining
keeping it.
the little you have.
We're keeping it.
And even though it's on the rear,
Right.
that's where the original, and
Right.
you're stepping up and recreating what might have been a grander, wonderful home that was altered
Yeah.
immensely. Okay,
Yeah, that's
I'm getting
about, that was
piece.
really my only option.
Okay. Now that's good
Yeah.
Good.
To make something that fits in to the vernacular of the neighborhood and looks like it could have always been there.
Scale-wise, brings back what was once
Right.
fitting. And the house next door, I believe, is a pretty large.
That's huge. Yes, it's way up in here somewhere, yeah.
Well, that's good. Any more questions that detail-wise or composition-wise? Any public additional comments? Then I think we can propose to recommend to approve a certificate of appropriateness for this project. And all in favor?
Okay,
And
thank you.
There we have it.
Thank you.
Our last item on the agenda today is 427 Midland Ave.
Over there.
I guess you're finished. Take your time finishing.
Oh, yeah, we're done.
Oh, no, it's gonna fall. Good evening. Sorry, my architect couldn't make it. He's in Florida on vacation. All right. We're proposing addition with a wraparound deck. This is this is an existing building right here with the deck that's existing right now, which is non-conforming. It's all broken up. We're trying to propose addition to the existing addition that was done like 20, 30 years ago on this property. There's some pictures of the existing property right here, so I can show you. This is the existing front with the sheet of shake. We're going to cover it all around with the new addition that we're proposing. The addition that was done years ago didn't have the sheet of shake. This was done 6 years ago, the sheet of shake on the... Should I use this? So we're going to wrap it around to continue this. We're trying to build an addition to cover this section of it with a new family room over here and build a second floor on it, top over here, to continue it. And I have that in the architectural plans to show that. Just wanted to show you the existing house and the condition it was. We're proposing around 1,000 square feet addition. Don't have the exact. The front elevation is going to remain the same. The balcony over here was existing. We're just adding some columns and decking on that, top of that. And it's right here on the left side elevation. And this is a new proposed wraparound deck that we're proposing. And this would be the addition. This is existing right here. This.
Look at the existing building site plan you just showed.
Yes.
And the not the second story little wrap that you were adding, but the wrap on the first floor, is that on the east? I don't know, so that is. That if you can, it's the elevation on the east side, I get? No, west side. I'm just trying to, or if you can.
The rear of the
yeah,
house?
If you open the site plan for one quick second. And you don't need to show all, yeah, exactly, that site plan. So your addition, show me on that plan overall where the new addition.
So this is the existing
Yes.
decking that's there. The addition is basically a bump out for
Okay,
the living room, which is going to be around 333 square feet that comes out up here.
okay, so that's the corner, I got it,
Yeah.
got it.
So that's what we're covering. And then the wraparound deck, basically, you see this existing deck. I'll show you in the renderings. It wraps around, comes around here, and basically connects right over here.
Okay, and so we're talking rear and side, is that
Rear and
correct?
side.
Got it, got it.
The side is already there,
Yes.
existing.
And
It's
you-
just all broken, so we're just going to continue it to
you're
wrap it around.
connecting.
And kind of, you can
Got it.
walk out from the
Yep.
inside of the house.
Good, good, good.
The front, we're not changing much on it. I just want to, I know you guys, that was a concern about the front. We're not changing anything. These are existing windows that are there. The bottom, first floor, they're existing windows. I think these are from the original house that was built. The top windows are vinyl windows. I don't know how does, if we could change them or keep the existing because they're really unsafe windows.
Would you keep the opening intact?
The opening stays the same.
And you just alter the actual window
The
itself?
window. We're going to put Anderson Woodwright windows on here. So they're wood from the inside and aluminum from the exterior.
And I guess
they're
that's-
going to have a sash of a 6 or 9, depending on the size of the window.
So you're kind of replicating the,
Yeah.
the-
Well, so the story in this house is it's been renovated multiple times. And the sheet of shake is actually not part of this. It was done like 6 years ago when I asked the previous owner who owned this. It was just done 6 years ago. It's in bad condition because no one lived there for a couple of years and it just went bad because it grows mildew and you have to clean it every year with a cleaner and you have to restain it. So we're proposing to change the windows of these things, but keeping the same openings and
that's-
adding additional
so
windows
that's
to
not
them.
changing the overall?
Yeah, we're not changing the overall look of this house whatsoever. The only thing we're adding is, if you look at this picture, that's the existing deck that I was talking about. And this is an addition that was done, I think, 30 or 40 years ago. It was on some blueprints that we found in the house laying around. So we're basically just bumping this section out to match this.
That's a good, now I can see
Yeah, so
where
we're
it goes.
gonna
Yep,
match this with this.
yep.
Then bring this up to the second floor, but it's not gonna be as, there's another, I'll show you in a picture of the rendering how the roof line attaches to this piece right here. And the wraparound deck would come away. This is existing structure. I don't know what it is, but I think at some point it was fencing or I don't know what they put it up as.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it's gonna lay. So the deck on top of here is this decking material that goes on, and it's gonna basically match the columns that are here. This is the rear of the house. And this is an additional picture of the addition that was done. But we're gonna remove this and kind of get the same sheet of shake to match this. It's actually, the 6 years old, it's not that old.
So let me ask you a quick question about the materials.
Sure.
On A1, we were on that page a second ago.
Yes.
It looks like,
Hardy board on this section you're talking about?
yeah, well, are you keeping the front porch what it is? And then
This
it
is
wraps
staying
around-
existing. This is the front section. You're
Yeah.
talking about right here?
Yeah, but if you go down to the next picture.
Okay.
Where these 3 windows are, where
Yeah,
you're putting
that's
the
existing.
decking on top.
This is
So are
exi-
you keeping like this part stucco and this part stone? And then this?
That
shape?
is staying the same. We're not touching any of this
Okay.
stuff. We're only touching the additional stuff.
Okay.
So I don't know I tried to talk to a couple of contractors regarding that to see if you could put sheet of shake on here because it's throw on stone.
Oh, I'm not asking you to.
Okay.
I just, on here, it looks kind of like you're redoing the face of it because it's not
This, and no,
showing
we're
the
not.
cedar shakes at the top and then the stucco with the stone below. So that's why I was just clarifying.
No, we're not changing that. The
Okay.
only additional stuff we're changing is right over here.
Okay.
That's the addition.
And is that the hardy plank too?
It was, initially we are gonna go with the hardy plank because the hardy plank was on the addition that was done years ago. But we're gonna take off that hardy plank and obviously just continue the sheet of shake and match it up and kind of, they have to power wash it and restain it so it matches all around for that. Okay.
Had this design been put in front of us as new construction, we would have turned it down instantly.
As a new construction? I'm not the designer. You could, as RJH Architects from Malvern. I don't know if you've seen this property. It's like on Wikipedia. It's on it too as well. It's kind of weird, this picture. But this was one of the oldest houses there, 1890
Yeah, it's
something,
a- oh, really?
95.
Yep.
But it's actually a spec home. It's not something fancy. They built 8 or 9 these.
Right.
It's called A, B, or C, and this is like a B.
It's in that booklet, it's in that little booklet,
Yeah.
yep.
It's historic somehow, but it's just it's in really terrible condition if you see it in person. So I'm trying to improve it to make it livable. No. So this is the wraparound deck that's in the back, and you can see the roof lines for the second floor, the proposed second floor. And we're gonna tie in the addition that's on the first floor, and that'll be the wraparound deck with the new windows. And the windows will match the ones that are on the first floor. And the second floor, we're still budgeting out because to switch them up to the wood windows as well. We're adding a bay window right over here. That was 2 existing windows and changing that to a bay window. That's the only thing on this side of the structure. Or we could just put picture window over here.
That feels, looks appropriately
Yeah,
age-wise,
so we're gonna do
period-wise.
copper roof over here, copper roof over here. So it kind of brings out the character of the house.
I think sounds like you're making some nice improvements to what was a good basic.
Yeah, it's a lot of we're just adding to it, fixing stuff that sanding down the wood, repainting stuff. We're redoing the roof, putting the new roof on because it actually has holes in the roof when we had a roof inspection done. So it's in terrible condition. I am trying to improve it. I don't know if you need any of these or have any other questions that I could answer that I know of. Because the architect couldn't make it to the meeting because it's once a month and it's kind of tough because he already scheduled out and I submitted my application.
I think
the
you
last
described
day.
it pretty well, so you
Any
should pay
other-
yourself.
I mean, well, it's not a big addition. It's actually part of the.
Yeah, that's true.
existing. We're
It's
just adding like
exactly.
a bump out of it and actually trying to just match it up, not trying to
No, you're kind of.
stand out of the neighborhood. I spoke to all my neighbors. They fine with that, show them the architecturals and everything as well.
Good. Any other questions? There's any public comments?
I have one question. It's just about the materials you're using on the roof.
Sure.
Is that's just normal shingles?
So there's 3 roofs on there right now,
3 different kinds?
3 different companies. There's GAF, Certainteed, and there's another brand we just don't know, and it's layered in multiple ways. So there's a green roof, there's a charcoal roof, and I don't know what the other color is. So we're stripping the whole roof out, taking it down, redoing it, reinsulating it, and putting a brand new Grand Manor roof, which will be a more sturdier, more appealing roof. Joe, the neighbor next door, put that on, so he recommended that. He's like, yeah, that. So kind of matching the houses around there.
I think we have a sufficient amount of information. So, we'd like to, I guess I forgot to make the motion, but we'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of a certificate of appropriateness.
Did we ask for public comment?
I think we did. If you had any comments, I'm sorry. Okay. So all in favor?
In favor?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay. I guess if there's any new business or old business, would you like to mention anything? Okay. I don't have any new
Friend who
business
sold
and old business.
one just like this on
Guess not.
Midland.
So we can
for
adjourn.
$28,000
Can you?
in 1970.
We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Can you imagine?
What was that?
Friend sold one for $28,000.